Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, we're going to find out who'd win in a fight between the douchebag Captain America characters, Peacemaker versus U.S. Agent. Now, Peacemaker is going to be making an appearance in the Suicide Squad movie, which opens up this week. And U.S. Agent factored heavily into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Disney Plus television show.
Yeah, Joseph and I saw the Suicide Squad last week. It was amazing. Peacemaker was definitely one of the standout characters. And of course, he's getting his own TV show on HBO Max.
Yeah, regarding the Suicide Squad, guys, all I'll say is feel free to unmanage your expectations. We'll be reviewing it in our next episode. But before that, we're going to do this duel, and before that, we're going to break down the comic book movie news from the past week, which included the news that Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over her salary from the Black Widow movie.
As always, our segment times are listed in our episode description, so feel free to check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic.
And guys, if you've been following the show over the past few months, you know Jonathan and I are switching this show behind a paywall, where only the 4 most recent episodes are available to the public and everything else you have to subscribe for. So if you guys want access to our archived content, including our Deadpool review, Wonder Woman vs. Thor, our Infinity War review, Titans vs. X-Men, or our Birds of Prey review, for example, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Patreon, the latter of which you can also get access to bonus content, including blooper reels, top 10 episodes, movie watch parties, and a whole shit ton more of perks. The cost to subscribe is only $2 a month, so check us out on one of those platforms.
Yeah, we definitely recommend signing up for Patreon. It's the same price as subscribing to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, but you get access to a bunch of additional content as well.
And just a heads up, Jonathan and I are still currently in the process of transitioning this show behind a paywall. It's complicated as hell. It wasn't just as easy as like flipping a switch like we thought it would be.
If only,
that would have been great. So if all the episodes aren't behind a paywall by the time this episode comes out, they will be by the time the next episode comes out. So you guys might get a free bonus week. That's on us. But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize. A No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question tied into the news that Leslie Grace has been cast as Batgirl for an upcoming HBO Max Batgirl film. And we asked, should the new Barbara Gordon, Leslie Grace, be Batfleck's Batgirl or Battinson's, and why?
Of course, Batfleck being Ben Affleck and Battinson being Robert Pattinson, who's playing Bruce Wayne in the upcoming The Batman movie. We got only 3 total answers for this question. It seems like you guys aren't too interested in the whole Leslie Grace Batgirl story. But let's go ahead and run down our 2 honorable mentions as well as the No Prize winner.
Our first honorable mention goes to Miggy Matangian, who said,
"Hey guys, this is Miggy, and I think Leslie Grace should be in the Batfleck continuity. In the comics, Babs was inspired by the legend of the Batman to become Batgirl, and it's kind of hard to do that in Pattinson's universe when he's only been around for 2 years. I think being in an established universe would enhance the story, kind of like in Young Justice, and you could rationalize her being J.K. Simmons' daughter by just saying she's a light-skinned half Latina."
And it sounds like that's exactly what they may be doing, as we received news this past week that J.K. Simmons is in talks to return as Commissioner Gordon for this Batgirl film,
which will put the Batgirl movie in the DCEU continuity. It seems like Warner Brothers is keen on keeping that particular universe up and running.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They still have a star in Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. They still have, the Aquaman 2 movie coming up. There's no reason to abandon that universe just because, Zack Snyder is no longer a part of it. The DCEU is still alive and well, and I think after movies like The Suicide Squad, it's better than ever.
Our next honorable mention goes to Michael Haggerty, who said,
"Hey guys, Michael Haggerty here. I'm going to present a third option and say Keaton's as opposed to Battinson's or Batfleck's. I think that would be interesting. We know that there is a spoiler character that was covered up in those leaked things for The Flash. Could be Robin, could be Batgirl, could be anybody. We don't know. So I'm going to say Keaton's Batman or Beaton? Bat Keaton.
What if the covered up character was Batgirl? Like, they're filming that right now. They could totally have a casting announcement for an upcoming film and yet still have that character appear in an ongoing film that's shooting right now.
It's possible, and then you'd have Batgirl and Supergirl in the same movie, which could be interesting.
And the rumors have long been that Michael Keaton's going to end up being sort of like a Batman Beyond type mentor for Batgirl in maybe a Batgirl Beyond type movie. I mean, I would rather see him mentor Terry McGinnis, but this could fall in line with Warner Brothers' plans.
Yeah, especially if like Ben Affleck's Batman dies in the Flash movie or disappears from the timeline. If Keaton mentors Batgirl, then you still technically have a Batman and a Batgirl within the DCEU timeline. Also, I totally love the idea of calling Keaton's Batman Beaton.
That needs to be a thing.
Great answer, Michael Haggerty. Thanks to both you and Miggy for taking the time to answer the question of the week on our website. But the winner of this week's Snow Prize goes to Sophie CK, who said,
Sup guys, really love the podcast. And to answer your question, I don't think she should be in either universe. I think she should have her own standalone universe. So that way I don't have to watch this movie because I cannot stand Barbara Gordon in any way, shape, or form. And I think DC is making a big mistake. I think instead of going with Barbara, they should just go straight into a Cassandra Cain Batgirl movie because she is so cool and this nerfed version was so weird.
Really making a stand against Barbara Gordon and for Cassandra Cain, which I feel like is a sentiment that a lot of people share.
Yeah, the version of Cassandra Cain that was in Birds of Prey was really weird. I don't think anyone's happy with it. But maybe the actress who played her will age into like a martial arts badass at some point that we could use in film. Maybe that'd be like the best case scenario. Cassandra Cain is awesome. I do love her as Batgirl. I do also love Barbara Gordon. And when you say you don't like her in any way, shape, or form, I would argue the form of Oracle is actually really cool.
Yeah, she was kind of like DC's man in the chair.
Exactly, for all of the superheroes. I like introducing Barbara Gordon as Batgirl because eventually she will become Oracle, and then we get to see Cassandra Cain as Batgirl. That's my preference.
Do you think DC should have brought Barbara Gordon back as Batgirl in the comics?
Personally, no, I don't think that. I know there's a lot of people who do love her as Batgirl, but I feel like she was possibly more interesting as Oracle, and it gave us some representation for disabled people, which was awesome. Disabled people aren't cured of their paralysis in the real world, so why not reflect that in the comics, even a little bit?
Yeah, totally, and she was still a badass with her Screamo sticks in the wheelchair.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She could totally throw down.
Yeah. So thank you, Sophie CK. Appreciate the answer, and congrats on winning this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news.
All right, this past week we learned that due to the disappointing theatrical box office reception for the Black Widow movie, Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over their decision to release the movie day and date on Disney Plus Premier Access.
Now, of course, Disney did this because of the ongoing pandemic, but also I think as a way to drive more subscribers to Disney Plus.
Right, exactly.
And so Scarlett Johansson wants some of that sweet, sweet Disney Plus money, of which there apparently is in streaming, considering Netflix makes more money than like all of the studios combined.
Right, there is no precedent for how much money a streaming service makes for its content. So this whole lawsuit opens up a potential paradigm shift in the way actors are paid and how success is measured for streaming service content. Basically, Scarlett Johansson was paid $20 million for her role, which was commensurate with what other Marvel actors were paid for their films. But she also was promised a little bit more on the back end based off of the box office success of the movie. Since the film was also released on streaming, in addition to theaters, the streaming service ate into Black Widow's potential box office earnings.
Yeah, I think like half of Black Widow's box office opening weekend numbers went to Disney Plus. I think right now, a few weeks in, the film stands at a little over $350K, which is really low for a Marvel film. Typically, these are billion-dollar films.
Right, and this movie will be lucky to get to $500,000. It seems like people just aren't quite ready to go back to the movie theater yet due to the pandemic.
Especially if you're not a diehard fan.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a diehard fan, you're absolutely ready.
Yeah.
But if you're not, apparently it looks like you're willing to wait to see the movie once it does hit streaming.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn about how I feel about this. On one hand, I do think that Scarlett Johansson is owed some of the money just based off of her contract. I think that's what would be fair. And I think, studios make enough money as it is. And I'm sick of corporations being greedy assholes, On the other hand, I also think that actors make way too much money for what they do. But then again, what they do is bring in profits when people pay to see them. So it stands to ask, how much money is Disney getting? Where is that money going? Where should it be going? And if theatrical box office stars want to make the same amount of money on streaming platforms, is that going to change the nature of the platforms themselves? Are they going to still be able to produce such amazing content if they're having to pay the talent out all this money?
Yeah, and I think some of those answers to those questions may be answered or revealed in this upcoming lawsuit. It may open up a huge Pandora's box of data and numbers if everything becomes transparent.
Yeah, I heard Emma Stone is also suing Disney now.
Oh, shit!
Over Cruella.
Wow.
So yeah, you're either going to have the Actors Union go after the streaming services, or you're going to have lower paid actors.
Or less content on the streaming services.
That too. It's interesting. It's an interesting world we live in now. We'll see what happens. It's all new territory. It's a tough spot to be in, especially for Scarlett Johansson. And that brings us to our question of the week. So who is the most attractive actress or actor in a DC or Marvel film? We honestly couldn't think of any question pertaining to the content at hand. So, Scarlett Johansson's hot, but who is the hottest? That's what we want to know.
That's the question, yes. Record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message can be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. Be sure to answer before August 7th. Can't wait to hear your answers.
But I think that does it for all the comic book movie news this week. So let's go ahead and get into our main event, where we find out who would win in a fight between the Suicide Squad character, Peacemaker, and the West Coast Avenger, U.S. Agent. All right, Peacemaker versus U.S. Agent. Now, John Cena described his character in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie as douchebag Captain America, and that's exactly how I would describe U.S. Agent. If you guys have seen John Walker in the recent The Falcon and the Winter Soldier Disney Plus television show, you'd probably agree.
And if you haven't seen the Suicide Squad yet, if you've seen Watchmen, the character of the comedian was based on Peacemaker from the comics. Again, douchebag Captain America.
Yeah, so these guys are gritty, they have a bad attitude, they're kind of dumb, but they're also really badass.
And we're going to find out who's going to win. If you've never listened to one of our Duel episodes before, the way we determine a winner between these two characters is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using their statistics. Now, a Monte Carlo simulation is a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling.
And in our case, it randomizes statistics along a normal distribution, which is a bell curve, as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters we use are based on the official Marvel Power Grid, and we use that criteria to extrapolate the DC characters' stats. We've included some additional stat categories of our own, such as range, damage potential, versatility, and perception, in order to create a more complete and robust simulation.
Running these 1,000 simulations gives us a percentage of wins for each character, and we declare the one with the higher percentage to be the ultimate victor, considering that they're more likely to win any given battle. No character ever wins 100% of the time. Comics have always shown that there's a way for Batman to defeat Superman, so we feel our method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the comic book stories.
And we use this method because it was the least subjective, most unbiased way to determine who would win. Of course, we are both heavily biased toward our respective allegiances, and instead of debating these matches forever, we just let the math decide for us. So there's no fan votes here, and no relying on just feats.
Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations we run would play out, beat for beat.
And I think it's my turn to go first with the Marvel character's backstory, so let's go ahead and learn all about U.S. Agent. Now, John Walker was born and raised in the rural South, Custer's Grove, Georgia. His parents were Caleb and Emily Walker. He had a younger sister, Kate, and an older brother named Michael Walker, who was a decorated U.S. Army helicopter pilot. John and his family idolized Michael for his military service, seeing him as a true all-American hero. However, one day, Michael died in a helicopter crash, leaving John and his family devastated. Hoping to live up to his brother's memory, John enlisted in the army as well. but only served during peacetime, and he never became a decorated officer. He received an honorable discharge from the military, disappointed that he never got to become the hero that his brother was. He fell into a state of depression, but was convinced by a former army friend, Lamar Hoskins, to meet with a mysterious figure called the Power Broker, who was conducting illegal human enhancement experiments. Both John and Lamar volunteered for the procedure, gaining increased strength and superhuman physicality. John adopted the persona of the Super Patriot, using his new guise as a platform to speak out against Captain America, whom he believed was too liberal and didn't represent the true ideals of Americans. In an effort to build his Super Patriot brand, John would hold rallies to discredit Cap and talk himself up. These events would end in staged battles with Lamar, who would pose as a villain to help build John's reputation. Eventually, Captain America, aka Steve Rogers, caught wind of these rallies and confronted Walker, claiming that his staged fights were going to get someone hurt. John refuted Cap, claiming that he was the new symbol of American values. And later, John finally got his big break when he pushed a terrorist off the top of the Washington Monument, killing him.
What?
Soon after, Captain America refused to report to the Commission on Superhuman Activities, a new government organization tasked with overseeing superhuman activity and creating US-controlled superhumans. Steve Rogers believed his role should never be tied to a political agenda, and he abandoned the Captain America mantle. You can learn more about this in our Citizen Steel vs. Captain America episode. The Commission took his shield and costume and gave it to John instead, making him the new Captain America. John took on his friend Lamar as his sidekick, now with the codename Battlestar. The government commissioned the mercenary Taskmaster to train John in Captain America's fighting style and shield-throwing abilities, which you can learn more about in our Prometheus vs. Taskmaster Duel episode. Despite disagreeing with many of Steve Rogers' ideals, John Walker grew into the Captain America role and found himself trying to emulate the original, often asking himself what Steve Rogers would do. After a plot by the Red Skull drew out John and Steve, the two teamed up to take on and defeat the Skull and his horde of villains. Coming to respect Steve Rogers, John recommended to the government that he be reinstated as Captain America. He surrendered his shield and took on the moniker of US Agent instead, wearing a red, white, and black variation of Captain America's suit and continuing to work for the Commission. They assigned John to a spot on the West Coast Avengers team in a deal to grant the team government clearance. He initially butted heads with the group, however, due to his vastly different methods and values than Captain America. He left the team and struck out on his own, pursuing criminals such as Scourge, Paladin, and the Punisher, whom he actually ended up partnering with. John had a crisis of conscience, though, after defeating a criminal known as Bloodstain, who posed as his deceased brother Michael, and he reflected how there were actions he made as a hero that he needed to make amends for. John was able to rejoin the West Coast Avengers team during a time when the roster was in flux, fighting alongside other replacements, War Machine and Thunderstrike. He helped the team defeat the likes of the Lethal Legion, Ultron, and Immortus. Eventually, the West Coast Avengers folded and formed into a team called ForceWorks, led by Tony Stark. John was then given a new energy shield, though he later left the team and began using an eagle-shaped shield that he could control in midair via remote control. He became the leader of the Jury, a team who was tasked with taking down the Thunderbolts, which was being led at the time by his former teammate Hawkeye, whom you can learn more about in our Green Arrow vs. Hawkeye episode. John became a capable field leader, heading the STARS organization against a parasitic alien threat, and then leading the New Invaders team alongside World War II-era heroes such as the original Human Torch, the Submariner, Blazing Skull, and Union Jack. Wielding a new star-shaped shield with retractable points, John helped them fight off an army of assassins created after the fall of the Third Reich. John later rejoined the Avengers in their fight to stop Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts from stealing Odin's spear from his treasure room. During the fight, the patriotic villain known as Nuke sliced off John's right leg and arm using the spear.
Oh jeez.
Though the mighty Avengers proved victorious, John was placed in a wheelchair and had a prosthetic arm. For his service, he was appointed as the warden of the Raft Maximum Security Prison, though he later regained his limbs as a member of the Dark Avengers when he was briefly administered with the regenerative capabilities of an alternate reality Venom.
What?
When Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon, took on the mantle of Captain America, a reality-warped, Hydra-loyal Steve Rogers manipulated John into believing Sam was unworthy of carrying the shield. John and Sam fought, though Sam won by pulling John into a dark tunnel and then using his night vision to gain the advantage. The two later teamed up to take down the evil Steve Rogers Hydra organization and restore their friend to normalcy. You can learn more about this in our Dr. Midnight vs. Falcon episode. Later, John was confronted by his estranged sister Kate, a government contractor who had a grudge against John for abandoning her in his pursuit of fame and heroism. She developed a plot to strip John of the US agent role, but was thwarted and placed into a psych ward. Powers and abilities-wise, US Agent is similarly physically enhanced to Captain America's peak human capability, but John is even stronger, capable of lifting up to 10 tons. He received training from Taskmaster in Captain America's combat style and shield-throwing ability, though US Agent himself has wielded a variety of shields in his time. For this fight, though, we'll go with his classic vibranium red, white, and black shield. He also carries an energy truncheon he calls the Convincer.
What the hell is a truncheon?
It's a tonfa. It's like what police carry. They're nightsticks.
Okay, interesting. But John Walker himself, not so much.
What? I mean, his is a story of slow-burning redemption. One of these days, he'll stand out as a beacon of heroism, but for now, he's still living under Captain America's shadow. And maybe that's where he'll always be.
Yeah, he's sort of second fiddle to, like, an A-lister. The same can't be said of Peacemaker.
No, he's just
his
a
own
C-lister.
Whatever. Let me get into his backstory. As mentioned in our Captain Atom vs. Wonder Man episode, DC Comics acquired the superheroes of Charlton Comics when that publisher shut down. Among the heroes acquired was Peacemaker, a pacifist US diplomat who realized his methods weren't working and developed a heavily armed superhero identity in response. When he made his DC Comics debut, his history was rewritten so that he was born Christopher Schmidt, the son of Austrian munitions manufacturer Wolfgang Schmidt and an American children's book author named Elizabeth Lewis. Raised in affluence at an early age in Austria, Chris witnessed on his 5th birthday his father commit suicide after it was publicly revealed that Wolfgang had been a Nazi concentration camp commander in Poland.
Whoa.
Chris's mother immediately relocated to New York, where she legally changed their last name to Smith. Forever haunted by his father's death, Chris saw the ghost of his father in an SS uniform as he grew up, constantly criticizing him and pushing him to excel. Aggressive and unruly, Chris realized he needed discipline, so on his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the US Army. He excelled as a soldier and was soon promoted to sergeant just before being assigned to a tour in Vietnam near the end of the Vietnam War. After a few months, his platoon was tasked with bringing down a village full of enemy guerrillas.
Gorillas or gorillas?
Guerrillas. This is not Gorilla City here. As the smoke cleared from Chris's successful attack, he realized that the intelligence they had been given was bad. The village they had massacred was actually full of innocent civilians. As the officer in charge of the mission, Chris was scapegoated and burdened with full responsibility for the mistake. He was court-martialed and sentenced to life in Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary, during which time his mother died, leaving Chris with the family fortune. 20 years into his sentence, Chris became eligible for parole, at which time he was recruited by the US government into Project Peacemaker, a covert counterterrorism task force for which his involvement included a full pardon of his past crimes. Upon joining, Chris underwent elite, rigorous military training that turned him into a living weapon within an 8-month period, at which point, Project Peacemaker was immediately shut down after funding for the project was lost in a bureaucratic shuffle. Chris simply walked off the base and disappeared without incident. He made his way to Austria and took over his father's old munitions business, turning it into a manufacturer of household appliances instead. With his inheritance and new wealth from his business, Chris became a successful millionaire, relocating to Geneva, Switzerland, where he founded the Pax Institute, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting worldwide peace and providing aid to victims of war and terrorism. He also restarted Project Peacemaker privately, in which he took up its mission to combat worldwide terrorism as its sole operative, a one-man army equipped with state-of-the-art technology known as Peacemaker. Over the years, Chris's mental stability worsened, as he now not only saw his father, but also believed he heard the voices of terrorism victims within his costume's helmet, urging him toward violence and extreme measures. Chris made it his mantra that he loved peace so much he would kill for it. Eventually, his violent and explosive actions drew attention abroad from a US government agency known as the Agency, which tricked Chris into taking over Project Peacemaker, though they were also able to help recondition his mental state and provide therapy. The Agency, which later became the organization Checkmate, was eventually moved under the command of Amanda Waller, who you can learn more about in our Suicide Squad vs. Defenders episode. Project Peacemaker was made a branch of Task Force X, and Chris was drafted into Waller's Shadow Fighters team, which was charged with bringing down the villain Eclipso. The team failed, however, and all of its heroes died, including Peacemaker. Chris's soul became trapped in Purgatory, along with Hal Jordan, who you can learn more about in our Green Lantern vs. Nova episode. During the Day of Judgment storyline, the Sentinels of Magic visited Purgatory to recruit Hal to become the new host of the Spectre, who you can learn more about in our Spectre vs. Galactus episode. Chris helped Hal escape by rallying other vigilantes within Purgatory to cause a disruption and distract the realm's guardians long enough for Hal to escape. Eventually, Chris's soul was also able to escape, inhabiting the body of a surgeon named Mitchell Black, whose identity he kept for some time while taking up the Peacemaker mantle and mission once again. After joining other heroes such as Captain Atom, Blue Beetle, The Question, and Nightshade in a team known as the Law, or the Living Assault Weapons, Peacemaker was seemingly killed by Prometheus. Resurfacing years later in El Paso as an ally and mentor of the new Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Mitchell Black began using the name of Chris Smith once again. At one point, simultaneously armed with both an alien Blue Beetle Scarab and a Sinestro Corps Yellow Power Ring, Chris fought Jaime, though Jaime helped him overcome the Reach's programming and the power of the ring. After barely surviving the ordeal, Chris left El Paso and was last seen as a prisoner of the Global Peace Agency. In post-Flashpoint continuity, Chris's history was changed to more closely resemble his original Charlton Comics origin, in that he was formerly a pacifist US diplomat. Driven insane, he adopted the Peacemaker identity and was eventually arrested for his violent vigilante activities. He's currently a member of Amanda Waller's Suicide Squad. Now, Peacemaker has no innate superhuman powers, but he does possess a vast arsenal of high-tech weapons and equipment, the most iconic of which is probably his uniquely shaped metallic helmet, which contains a two-way radio and long-range sensors that detect hostile threats. It can also emit a laser beam and an ultrasonic blast that can disrupt enemy communications and stun foes. His uniform is actually made of a flexible, thin, bulletproof body armor, and his utility belt is holstered with several firearms, including an Uzi and a Derringer, and it's equipped with an array of bleeding-edge ammunition, including explosive rounds. He also carries Escrima-Sticks, nerve gas, a toolkit, and various explosives. In fact, pretty much every part of his costume can be turned into an explosive weapon, as everything from his gloves to his boots contain vials of explosive material that only he knows how to trigger. He also wears a jetpack, allowing him to fly. Lastly, he's an advanced gymnast and martial artist, having received elite combat training in the military. And that's Peacemaker.
So where do you fall on the concept of using violence to enact peace?
I mean, I think all superheroes are kind of guilty of it. Not all superheroes kill, but they do, by default, kind of strong arm peace into existence, I guess. Even the best of them.
That's true. But it seems interesting with Peacemaker because he's like openly declaring how much he loves peace and like has the white dove as a symbol and everything like that.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character for sure.
Yeah, way more interesting than US Agent.
And not really, though, if you think about it. Peacemaker's like a big ol' no-name, but I guess that'll change after this week's movie comes out.
Yeah, if I had to compare John Cena's Peacemaker character to fucking Wyatt Russell's US Agent from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's no contest. John Cena wins.
I don't know, the MCU US Agent has the super soldier serum, so might be in trouble. But we're not talking about the movie characters. Let's break down who would win in a fight between these comic book characters.
Yeah, now that we've gotten their histories and abilities out of the way, let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not this speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this fight could play out.
We don't set any rules for this match other than the characters don't know anything about each other going in, except that the other character is a threat that needs to be put down. And we say they start off about 50 meters apart in an environment that has no bearing on the match itself, because we don't take stats for the environment.
Plus, certain characters have advantages in some environments over others, and we want these characters to win on their own merit. So let's get into it. The characters meet on the battlefield. Who goes first?
I'm going to say, since US Agent is like a super soldier plus, he's going to go first. And he's going to run into action and just hurl his vibranium shield straight at Peacemaker with all of his 10-ton strength, so it's just going to go fast like a bullet out of a gun, embedding right into Peacemaker's abdomen.
Okay, but Peacemaker has a jetpack, and that shield has a lot of horizontal distance to cover. So he's just gonna blast into the air with that thing, dodging the shield, and he's just gonna fire down on the now defenseless US Agent with his Uzi submachine gun, just riddling him with bullets.
Well, the shield returns back to him, So US Agent, while he doesn't have the shield, he's gonna back handspring away from all of this Uzi bullet spray. And in the middle of one of his back handsprings, he's going to catch the shield as it returns to him mid-flip and then hold it up to block the bullets. And then he's going to do this sweet-ass capoeira style jump twist flip thing and maneuver behind Peacemaker. And he's going to fling his shield up into the air, knocking right into Peacemaker's jetpack, the fuel compartment of the jetpack, causing it to explode.
Okay, but before the jetpack explodes, Peacemaker's going to remove it from his back and aims it right at US Agent and sends it flying into him like a bomb, all right? So, meanwhile, Peacemaker, he's just going to do a tuck and roll once he hits the ground, because he wasn't too high up in the air.
Okay. Well, US Agent, he sees this damaged jetpack rocketing toward him, so he's going to throw up his shield and block this explosion, but, it's definitely going to, send him flying backward onto his ass.
Right, and Peacemaker is going to follow up on that by hurling a knife at US Agent, which just embeds right into his thigh, right into that major artery that's there.
Way to stab a guy when he's down.
Yeah.
What a dick. The US Agent, though, he's just going to leave the knife in his thigh to avoid bleeding out.
What? Doesn't he want to get that thing out of him? The more he moves, the more it's just going to wiggle around.
No, he wants to leave it in there so that he doesn't have blood squirting out of his leg as he starts to run, which he's going to do now because he leaps to his feet and he just pushes through the pain of the knife in his leg and he charges right at Peacemaker, shield first, and he's going to slam right into his dumb face, full on, full force, full strength, just sending Peacemaker flying back 50 meters away. And now his helmet has this big old dent in it from the shield.
All right. Okay. So as Peacemaker recovers from that massive hit, US Agent, he's going to realize that one of Peacemaker's boots is at his feet. He literally knocked him out of his shoes. But luckily that shoe has an explosive in it, and it detonates in a massive explosion right at US Agent's feet.
Kind of turned that around on me.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, US Agent hears the boot beeping. Does it beep? We're going to say it beeps. Reacting quickly, he just covers the boot with his shield before it explodes. And he's standing on the shield as the explosion goes off, sending him flying into the air toward Peacemaker. So he's surfing it, and then he picks it up, and he lands with a stomp right on Peacemaker's bootless ankle.
What? That's not even possible.
Just cracking his ankle in two.
Okay. All right, pushing through the agony of a fractured ankle.
Shattered, but okay.
Fractured. He's just going to blast US Agent with his helmet laser, pushing him back a step to get him off of his fucking foot. At which point, Peacemaker, he's going to hobble up to his feet with his short sword drawn, and he's just going to start slashing US Agent.
Well, US Agent is going to pull out his convincer truncheon stick, and he's going to block Peacemaker's sword attacks. And then he's going to slam the energy truncheon right into Peacemaker's side, which is going to give him an electrical shock. And then US Agent is going to follow up with a straight-up uppercut right into Peacemaker's jaw. And remember, he's stronger.
Okay, Peacemaker, he stumbles back, but as he's stumbling, he blasts US Agent with a sonic burst from his helmet, disorienting US Agent long enough for Peacemaker to lob one of his gloves at him, which is a firebomb, and it just engulfs US Agent in flames.
Holy shit.
Yeah, can't block that shit.
Okay, so US Agent is on fire. He's going to fall to his knees. He's going to quickly pull out the knife out of his leg, finally, as the heat from the fire cauterizes the wound.
Oh my God.
And he's going to fling the knife right into Peacemaker's chest. And then he's going to drop to the ground and roll to put out the fire. And, he's fucked up. He's barely going to be conscious. But he's going to watch from the floor as Peacemaker bleeds out from this knife in his chest.
Hey, he's going to watch Peacemaker pull out his Derringer and blast him in the face before he bleeds out.
No. U.S. Agent is going to watch that Derringer bullet ricochet off of his shield.
What?
And then go right into Peacemaker's neck.
Okay? Peacemaker still hasn't bled out, though, okay? So, with his final breath, he, rolls a nerve gas pellet at U.S. Agent, causing his body, including his lungs, to seize up, ensuring his death.
Well, U.S. Agent, with his final breath, holds his breath and hurls his baton from the ground so hard that it, impales Peacemaker right in the guts.
What?
So Peacemaker has the knife in the chest, the bullet through the neck, and the truncheon in the guts. He has to be dead now.
Yeah, because the adrenaline from the pain from the truncheon through his stomach gives Peacemaker a last-minute second wind, all right? Which gives him enough time to pull out some...
These guys won't die.
Right. Peacemaker pulls out some medical equipment from his toolkit so he doesn't die first. Just another adrenaline shot or something, or some cauterizing spray or something like that.
Or some antibacterial cream or something.
Whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't die first.
And I say he dies before he can actually do that.
No.
These guys are just fighting from the ground, near death. They just won't die. That's hilarious. Well, we'll go ahead and leave the match there. Either Peacemaker outlives U.S. Agent or U.S. Agent outlives Peacemaker. We'll find out what scenario happens when we input the stats on this match, run the simulations, and find out the results. We'll be right back.
I didn't think this match was going to be as fun as it was. Usually when you have, shooting guys, it just gets, horribly violent right away. And this one did, kind of, but Peacemaker has enough variety up his sleeve to make this really interesting.
And they were kind of well-balanced in their stats. We all know that U.S. Agent is stronger than Peacemaker and more evasive due to his shield. He's able to dodge incoming attacks easier.
Yeah, Peacemaker doesn't carry a shield like that. We did say that they were about even in durability, though, thanks to Peacemaker's enhanced body armor. We also said that they were the same when it came to fighting skill. They're both trained, formidable fighters, and intelligence. Neither guy is that smart.
Yeah, they're both a little bit unhinged, for sure.
Now, Peacemaker's helmet did give him a slight edge when it came to senses, because he's able to sense, long-range enemies. But we had to take that advantage away from him due to his insanity.
Yeah, he hears voices and stuff. He can't rely on him.
Peacemaker did have the leg up, though, when it came to movement speed, thanks to his jetpack, as well as damage level due to all of his explosives.
This is going to be a close one. Who do you think will win?
I mean, I gotta give it to Peacemaker. Not only do I think he's the better character, I think he's more well-rounded and more versatile compared to U.S. Agent, who's kind of a one-trick pony, compared to Peacemaker being a one-man army.
Hey, U.S. Agent is just as much of a one-man army, let me tell you. And our Instagram followers definitely think so, because in the poll we sent out, 62% of them think that U.S. Agent will take this.
Which I don't understand at all, considering, Peacemaker has a fucking movie coming out. Shouldn't he be the more popular one right now?
No, because the movie hasn't come out yet. And everybody remembers U.S. Agent from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, they remember hating him.
Well, let's get the results. The winner of the fight between Peacemaker and U.S. Agent is... You know who it is. Peacemaker.
Yes!
That's right. Peacemaker is the bigger douchebag Captain America, with a win percentage of 52.6% over U.S. Agent's 47.4%. So Peacemaker won 526 matches out of 1,000. Like I said, this was a close one.
I totally thought Peacemaker was going to win more than that. I'm surprised it was that close.
Yeah. Although U.S. Agent was vastly stronger than Peacemaker, Peacemaker did have the edge with all of his gadgets and his jetpack and stuff.
In the end, U.S. Agent met his maker, the Peacemaker.
That was corny as hell. What the hell kind of show is this?
I thought it was great. I was saving that.
No.
You still lost.
Yeah, well, at least I can go to bed with some dignity now. That does it for the Peacemaker U.S. Agent Duel. Let us know what you guys thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by checking out our show notes or visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you can find a link to our Patreon page, where we offer bonus content for as little as $2 a month.
Yeah, and if you join us on Patreon, you also get access to our archived episodes, over 200 of them just waiting for you to check out. You can also get access to the archive by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Before we forget, for our patrons in our higher tiers, the $10 and $18 tiers, we will be sending out the pins for July and August this month.
Yeah, the pin set for July is Poison Ivy versus Emma Frost, and the pin set for August is Martian Manhunter versus Vision. So if you non-patrons want those, be sure to sign up for the $10 or $18 tiers to get these sweet-ass die-cast iron enamel pins.
We do still have some of the Red Hood versus Punisher pins left. We only have about 10 of them. They're available for purchase on our Etsy shop, the link for which is in our episode notes.
Again, guys, our next episode will be a review of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad movie. It was amazing. Go see it.
Go see it in theaters.
Or HBO Max, either way.
Yeah, I'm dying to talk about it. So many great moments. Definitely sing it again. But that does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson, Jace Crump, John Starosky, John Speas, Zachary Hepburn, John Bechinina, Stephen Lovato, and Mitchell Phipps for helping make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, up, and away.
True believers.